Hi, onegaishimasu. Welcome back to the Goju Karate Center. This will probably be a follow-up to a video we did a couple of weeks ago where we spoke about starting your own dojo. And this video is basically a little bit more insights that you might need to have if you are planning on starting a dojo in 2021. So the first thing is, in that original video, we kind of spoke very personally into the ideas of how to deal with organization, existing dojo, existing sensei, how to broach the topic of I need to start a dojo. And if we take the key points on this, the number one point that we need to always remember is, if you belong to an organization, what is the minimum requirements for you to start a dojo according to your organization or according to the National Federation. And if you fulfill all these needs, then it's not a problem. Obviously, National Federation are going to level a couple of other ideas on you. So usually you will need some kind of clearance from your association or style federation. You will more than likely need some level of first aid training. And in this day and age, globally, you probably find that you will need some kind of COVID corona compliance certification that you will need to comply with. And you need to meet all these requirements to start a dojo successfully. All right, so that would be our starting point. The next thing is, we need to kind of look at the reality of starting a dojo. And the anecdotal story I normally tell people is that when I took over the dojo from my sensei and we refloated the business portion of the dojo as a company, my local bank manager told me that he didn't see any hope of me succeeding. He said I was not equipped enough to be a business owner, and I was not equipped enough to be successful. And I think he made these decisions based on the idea that I arrived at a bank. I walked in, I said I'd like to start a business account. I was wearing a pair of short pants, a pair of flip-flops and a t-shirt. And I went to a meeting shortly after I got through the rigmarole. I had a lovely banker work with me, and it was great in setting up the business account. And then I met this gentleman, and he gave me the up and down, and he made a decision on that. So first appearances are very important, and I think it's very important that if you are going to start a dojo, the reality check is that people have unrealistic expectations. I grew up in a time and in an age where we had some very big and very strong dojos, and I could never ever see my dojo being as big, as strong, or as good as some of the dojos that belong to the founding pioneers of karate here in Johannesburg, South Africa, who had set up shop 20, 30 years ahead of me. People like Sensei Stan Schmidt from JKA, Malcolm Dorfman, Norman Robinson, all of JKA Vein and Shotokan Vein, belonging to different organizations today. I was in awe of them, and then just down the road we had Sensei Jahanrutz, JKA Shotokan Jahanrutz, who was a phenomenon in his own right. And young upstarts like myself wanting to start dojo or take over dojo, it was like, how do I fit in? How do I manage? How do I cope with these big names? And how do we make a footprint into the community? And it's important to be able to deal with this, because the level of expectation is, if you can't make a footprint into your community, and if you don't offer some decent service and decent quality experience, chances are those older, more established dojos are probably going to sink you. So it's a very serious reality check, and you need to go back to how close you're planning on positioning your dojo to existing dojos and existing instructors. And you also maybe might not be violating some instructor from your style, but you need to look at all the instructors in your area. Have a look at what their footprint is like. See how you can be better than them. And that's very, very important. You've got to look and see, is your interface better because you're on the main road and you just need to slap a sign up and hopefully people will walk in the door. Sometimes it's a little bit harder than you realize. I remember an interview that Sensei Malcolm Dorfman gave about starting his dojo and standing outside the first dojo he was setting up with his Springbok blazer on, waiting for people to come in. And starting with, I think, 1 or 2 people saying, oh wow, you do karate, we'd love to try this. And that's how it starts. Don't expect that you're going to open a dojo and you're going to get 150 or 200 students straight away. The next thing is you need to be hungry, you need to be passionate. And this is again based on understanding that at any point you could be one of the 90% failing business enterprise. And because of that, you need to be more passionate, more driven. You need to put the business ahead of anything else, and that is the only way that you're going to succeed. And it's very, very hard if you want to establish a good business that runs for a long period of time to actually put down what you need to cover first. I know of many people who have very good ideas and they have a lot of money thrown at them, and before they have paid for anything else, they've bought a fancy motor car or upgraded their house or something like that. This is not how this works. If you're going to do this, you need to be in it for the long term. Dojos are long-term interests, businesses. And it doesn't matter if you are running a dojo in South Africa or United States of America or India, or even if you're in Okinawa in Japan. A long-term plan requires you to look at how much money you're going to possibly make, how much money you're possibly going to redirect from your family money. This is a privileged background, and I have to bring it up because I am fortunate in the situation of being a white South African boy who was very privileged. My family wealth has been recycled into me, and the dojo that I have is a combination of recycled wealth from my family, but also from my senseis ahead of me, Sensei Paul Andre and Aubrey Peterson. When they left, I took over the dojo, and it was up to me to make a go of it and to try and refloat and re-establish the dojo as a going concern. And it's been a long haul. It wasn't easy. Which brings me to my next thing. Most people imagine that you start the dojo and it's just success. It's not the case. For every up, there's a down. And then you've got to pick yourself up. And hopefully your ups are on a gradual trend upward. So it'll actually look something like this. And there's a lovely graph that usually floats around on the internet of successes filled with starting at one point and having a successful end point, but in between there's a lot of trial and failure. And this is something that every dojo goes through. You can have a couple of amazing classes and you might say something foolish. You might put something out into the world that is not relevant to your business, but might be relevant to your religious point of view or your political point of view, and it can sink your business. So the best advice I give people on this is, if you're going to put your business first, then don't worry about religion. It belongs outside. Everybody with whatever religion is welcome in. Don't worry about political point of view. That stays outside too. Everybody is allowed to bring themselves into the dojo, irrespective of where they sit politically, and just work on karate. That is the glue that holds the dojo together. And then work very, very rigorously. Try and identify where you are going to fit in. So you want to start a dojo, are you going to be aiming at sport karate and doing kata? Are you going to aim at sport karate and kumite? Are you going to be a children-based dojo? You're going to be teaching a lot of kids and trying to make a success, and you're going to go and float into all the little kindergartens or nursery schools and try and pick up 5 students here and 5 students there, and collectively have 150, 200 members. Little kids, knowing that the attrition rate is extremely high, the turnover rate is extremely high. Or are you going to look for something a little bit more established? Are you going to try and set up a traditional dojo? offering kids classes at a respectable age. And when I say that, I don't like children less than a certain age in my dojo trying to do karate. I don't think it's for them. I do believe that there's a lot of movement education you can do, and with the background in physical education, we tend to focus on that. And then do you allow that all the way through to senior citizens, pensioners, and are you able to cope with their needs? Do your classes have a variety of focal points that you look at? So I'm dealing with pensioners, so I'm just working on a small amount of mobility, improving balance, improving visual perception, etc., so that they don't have as many hang-ups and issues, and that we improve the quality of their life. Am I going to try and get them moving in a slow, systematic way, increasing their breathing? Am I working with teenagers who want to go to town with a punch bag and hit pads and have a very, very physical experience? Am I working with the moms in the dojo who are worried about toning and trimming up and are not interested in karate so much, but might be interested in a little bit more self-defense? Are we working with the dads in the dojo who are working on just managing their stress levels and are looking for an outlet to get rid of all the stress and that strains? Are we working with kids who are in highly pressured school environments whose 2 hours in the dojo should not be an intellectual process because their brains are working so hard all the time, they need an outlet? And so you need to plan how you're going to do this. And in identifying what type of dojo you're going to run, you are going to then be able to have specific goals for specific groups that will help you teach better and give people a better experience. And this is very important, because if people don't have a good experience, then there is going to be a problem. You need to appreciate your income and your expenses. And all businesses essentially work on the idea that your income is not your income until you've paid off all your expenses. And it is very important to try and pay your debts first, pay your salaries, your wages, your lights and water, your utility bills, so that your business can keep operating before you pay yourself. And then when you do pay yourself, then you can break up your payment into, am I paying my future self first, and then am I paying my present self after? And paying my future self is to set up something that in the future, if something goes pear-shaped, have I got some savings? Have I got some investments? Have I got some insurance or liability to protect myself? And so you need to make sure that you have all of these little pieces in place. Without this, if something does go wrong, you could lose everything. And that is very, very important. You could be the best karate person on the planet, but you may be the worst administrator on the planet. I'm very fortunate. I'm a reasonably okay karate guy. I have a wife who is an absolute monster when it comes to running the admin of our business, and she keeps a finger on the pulse. Not only does she teach a certain number of the classes because she is younger and she works better with the younger children. I'm starting to get older and a little bit more cranky, so the kids naturally gravitate to her. But she's also got a very, very good, firm understanding of the internet, of modern technology, and on running the admin of our business. And if you don't have that, we have nothing. So a lot of my successes of late are directly related to the woman in my life who basically twists the head, as they say. She's the neck that turns the head. And if you don't have the setup, then you've got to be an all-in-one entity. And that is very, very hard to be. I know a couple of karate instructors who try and do it all. And at 10 o'clock at night, when everybody else is getting ready for bed, they're doing their books, they're doing their accounts, they're not resting, they're working all the time. And they've gone from having small dojos. A student of mine started with a tiny little nursery school dojo in a little primary school, and he is now an entity unto himself. He is a very successful sport karate dojo with a very, very strong traditional quarter in his dojo, as well as a fitness and strength and power and conditioning section as well. And, you know, it's great to see. But this young man works very, very hard at keeping his business ticking by because he knows it's his bread and his butter. So these are some of the critical things that you need if you're going to be starting a business. The more you can manage the expenses, the better. The more you can keep expenses down, the better. Obviously, you would want to speak to a tax consultant as well at some other point because you have to pay unto Caesar what Caesar is due. You need to understand how the tax system in your country works. I think I've covered most of the little bits. The obvious extras are understanding that in a dojo environment there are additional incomes, and managing these additional incomes is very, very important. One of them is usually your affiliation. Most schools offer some kind of, or require some kind of affiliation to belong to a provincial or a regional or a national affiliate or to a style. South Africa has unfortunately had a bad record in many, many instances where national affiliations to international bodies, dojo affiliations to national organizations, etc., have not been paid. Your affiliation needs to be structured in such a way that people understand what they are paying for and why they pay for it. So you pay your national contribution into the dojo, and you might pay a little bit more than the dojo down the road. And if somebody asks you, why is your affiliation 200 units, and down the road it's only 150, that extra 50 units you need to justify. In my case, we built a structure that cost a lot of money, and we're constantly maintaining and upgrading it. And so a portion of that money goes into the maintenance kitty. And we make sure that when we do maintenance, people get to see it, and that the members get to benefit from that extra money. It also covers additional things that an instructor might need to undergo, such as training, first aid training, COVID training, additional karate training, so that you can be a better person or a better instructor, not a better person, better instructor, a better teacher. And then obviously your own development. You might go and attend seminars on how to teach or how to run your dojo more effectively, or you may have to pay a third-party expense once a year for internet or something. And so you need to be able to justify your additional incomes and where you use it. And the more your business is run on a very transparent platform, usually the better. People don't need to know everything, but people often do question, because in an age where people are comparing very easily what Dojo X and Dojo Y's fees are, you need to be able to justify and show why. If you're charging a little bit more, you're offering a little bit more. And if you're charging a little bit less, maybe it's because you don't offer as much. So these are some tidbits, some small pieces of information to hopefully help in setting up a dojo in 2021. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think anybody who launches a dojo in 2021 is going to be struggling. It's going to be an uphill battle the whole way. And I honestly think that if you are hungry enough and if you're struggling enough and it is your only way to improve your position in the world, then please remember you have to work extremely hard. Please don't try and compare yourself to a dojo that has been in existence for 20 or 30 or 40 years, that might have passed through a couple of successive owners who have been fortunate enough to have the right economics at the right place at the right time. These economic freak examples do not happen to every single dojo. More dojos close than make it to the top. And when you do make it to the top, you might not be there for long. My greatest lesson in how not to run a business was from one of my seniors who had a dojo of over 300 members, and sadly when that senior instructor died, his dojo's active members, probably less than 10. And he did not move with the times, and we often discussed it when we had telephone conversations, and he never moved with the times. Sometimes you have to improvise, you have to adapt, and you have to keep changing so that you can improve your business. There's only one constant in life, and that is change. And it's up to us whether or not we're going to change with or without it, or we're going to be stuck in the mud and very soon be left behind and forgotten. That's it. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu. Good luck in 2021. Sayonara.